What's up everybody, my name's Estics, and today we're not only going over one of the most terrifying creatures from Duskmourn, but also one of the most metal. This is the Swarmweaver, and whenever he enters the battlefield, he gives you 2 black-green insect tokens. Now the reason that this is important is because whenever he is getting bounced back and forth, he can get out more tokens that can be spent on more stuff. His Delirium ability, it gives all insects and spiders death touch and gives you a +1/+1 counter. So let's get into the first one, the Swarm. Starting off with number 1, Hornet Cannon. Now Hornet Cannon gives you a 1/1 that goes away at your end step. However, you also have the Hive that does the same thing, except it keeps your token. However, with Hornet Cannon, we are going to sacrifice that Hornet to probably get some extra value later on. So having it go away at the end step is no big deal. So there's a stark contrast to Hornet Cannon, and it's Living Hive. Whenever Living Hive deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 insect creature tokens. Now that gives you even more insects just by doing damage. While Ant Queen gives you constant value by spending 2 mana to get out a 1/1 ant. And in just a few turns, you can have 2 or 3 ants out of the game. But if you do not want insects, how about spiders instead? Arista of the Endless Web reads, Reach, and whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 green spider token, which is good for people who are constantly sitting back playing different spells and stuff and getting out things, and then while they're doing that, you can consistently be getting out spider that they want to try to get rid of. So while they're ramping, you're ramping, so that's a little bit more of a pushback for them. And Shelob, on the other hand, gives you other spiders you control have death touch and ward 2, so that is a really strong, especially if you're creating spider tokens. Whenever another creature dealt by a spider dies, create a token that is a copy of that creature, except it's a food artifact with 2, sacrifice this artifact. You gain 3 life and it loses all other card types. So that's interesting. So you can actually use Shelob to attack your own creature to double up on your ability, especially if you attack your creature and goes to the graveyard and then you reoccur it later on. Pulse of Mirage gives you a creature back or a land, and also gives you a little bit of life for longevity of the game, alongside Gogori Guildmage, which reads, 4 to black, sacrifice a creature and return creature from your graveyard to your hand. Now that gives you constant recursion as long as you're able to pay for the cost. And it also has 4 and a green, put a 1/1 counter on a target creature. Ooh, that sounds really bad. But the first ability is actually not that terrible. Now, usually, I recommend you doing your commander because you can drop for tokens, drop for value, and then you can reoccur later on, along with Soul Stare Exhibition, which reads, whenever a land you control enters, you may put a quest counter on Soul Stare Exhibition. Now remove 3 quest counters from Soul Stare Exhibition and sacrifice it and return up to 2 creatures from your graveyard to your hand. So now you're getting 2 creatures back from your graveyard into your hand that you can now reoccur. Along with Grim Return, which gives you a creature back as long as you killed it this turn. So you get to reoccur your creature back to the battlefield as long as it died this turn, which you could do by sack outlets. And I think the absolute best sack outlet to use for this deck is actually Trading Post, because it allows you to drag an artifact back from your graveyard to your hand as long as you sacrifice a creature. You can now sacrifice your commander, get it to the graveyard, reoccur it to your hand in the same time as long as you sacrifice your commander first. So as soon as your sacrificed commander goes to your graveyard, he's an artifact, so now his artifactness gets used to bring him back. That is a smart way of reoccurring, essentially only making your commander cost 1 more to cast each turn, which is perfect for this because it gives you a sack first and then recursion. Leading us on to our next set, our Delirium cards. Starting off with number 1, Crawling Infestation, which I think for this deck is probably made for it, because it reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may mill 2 cards. Whenever 1 or more creature cards are put into the graveyard from anywhere during your turn, create a 1/1 insect creature ability. It only triggers once per turn. That's okay. However, you get a free bug and you get 2 cards in your graveyard, which is 2 chances for Delirium. If you already have your Delirium, you can now reoccur 2 cards at the top of your library. So it's like you're drawing 2 cards instead of just throwing them away, because you can reoccur them back to your hand. On the stark contrast, Tend to Pest gives you creatures while you sacrifice your card, and it will also give you life. So that's even more longevity, and it gives you pest creatures. Even though they're not insects, they're still pest. And then you have Altar of Bahal, which reads, exile a creature you control, return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery. You can blink out any of your pest, insect, or spider tokens to use Altar of Bahal to get back your commander once per turn. So if you use Altar of Bahal, you can just get rid of something that your commander already pays for and get your commander out again for free. That gives you an extra bug each turn, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but whenever you're using sacrifice options to get out value while you sacrifice or ETB, you are getting tons of value just by doing that one thing alone, and you don't lose anything, you actually only gain. And then you have Witch's Cauldron, which Witch's Cauldron reads: 1 black, 1 colorless, tap, sacrifice a creature, you gain 1 life, and you draw a card. So now you're getting cards out from your library, which then gives you your recursion from your graveyard, and then you get life out of it. That is 3 triggers that you can get out of 1 card per turn. Finally, the final card I want to recommend is Promise of Akolaz, which reads: an enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice a non-demon creature. If you do, populate. Now, this is really good for something like Hiveheart Shaman, which gives you a bug, which its power and toughness are equal to the amount of land you control. So you could pop a Promise of Alcatraz out after popping your commander back into your graveyard so that it can't be exiled or anything. You can then populate a big token that you have onto the battlefield. You can even use something like Giant Amphermage. Now, Giant Amphermage is a creature that gives you a token when it does combat damage. So whenever you do combat damage, you get to create a copy of it. Now, whenever you have a copy, you can now copy your copy and have 3 big ones that all copy for the same thing. Now on to a couple of bonus cards and an infinite combo. First, we have Fiend Artisan. Now, Fiend Artisan gets +1/+1 for each creature in your graveyard, and then you can sacrifice another creature and search your library for a mana value X or less and put it into the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. Now, that is really good because whenever you sacrifice your commander to reoccur it later, you now can take that and search your library for a card. So you're now taking it and tutoring it for another card. You're trading your commander for a card that costs less than it does. As long as you keep sacrificing it, keep reoccurring it, and getting out more creatures from your library, you get to constantly have creatures. Which brings us down to our second bonus, Amazu Swarm's Hunger. Now, whenever you're using Amazu, he gives all other insects that you control menace. And then it also says whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 1/1 black and green insect creature token, then put a number of 1/1 counters equal to the greatest number of mana amongst those cards you do. This only activate once per turn. Now, this is very good because you get to bring out any creature you want back onto your hand. So that gives you so much value, just constantly getting out more and more tokens each turn. Now, I also recommend Ashman's Altar. Now, Ashnon's Altar is very good because it sacrifices a creature and you get 2 colorless mana. Now, this is very good with Vaulted Construct because it only pays 2 and you get to untap a target artifact. How does that do well? Well, that's because it pays for the construct. Now, whenever you're using Trading Post, you can now get out Trading Post and the others, and if you have something that makes spells cost 1 less to cost, then you're constantly getting out at least 1 extra mana. So as long as you can pay for your commander, you can now constantly reoccur him back into your hand and not have to worry about paying for anything. So that is basically an infinite value engine. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I really hope to see you guys in the next video. I want to say thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. I really started this channel not thinking I was going to get any views, so now that I'm actually getting some, it feels really good. But I hope to see you guys in the next video, and I hope this video does well because I really like this commander and I want it to go hard in the paint. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time. Happy castings.